Good morning, and welcome to LLT 121 Classical Mythology. I'm your instructor, Dr. Hughes, and today we're going to be talking about, again, various miscellaneous myths, various B-movie hero types. Already we've encountered Heracles, the Pan-Hellenic hero, so good that every town just about in the Greek world, every town in the Mediterranean wanted a piece of the Heracles action because he met all 8 points on the herometer. The second hero we covered was Theseus, the hero of Attica and of Athens. Nowhere near the heroic quality of Heracles, but it was not for the lack of Athenians trying to make him look good. They tried. They gave him 6 labors in which he very inventively killed various creatures in the ways that they killed other peoples. You chuckled. You weren't impressed. Then we sent him in after the Minotaur. You liked that one better, and so did I, but that was because it had a bull in it. What was Theseus' great prize? He died. The end. Jason, the hero of Iolcus. Not a very nice guy. Love him and leave him. Traded in his wife on a 16-year-old. But women, look where it got him. Okay. We then got to meet Bellerophon, the fellow who took Pegasus on that wondrous one-way ride up to Mount Olympus. And what did it read on Bellerophon's death certificate, Mike? Hubris. H-U-B-R-I-S. Okay, we also met Perseus, played by Harry Hamlin in that cinematic triumph, Clash of the Titans. Local hero of Argos. He was pretty good. For whatever reason, his movie is the most popular of any of these classical mythology heroic movies, even though I didn't like it. And at this point, whoa, this is the worst coffee I've ever had in my life. We start scraping the bottom of the barrel. We start getting to the low-rent B-movie heroes. When last we left off, we were talking about the career of Pelias. Pelias commits miasma. Why does he commit miasma? Why does he incur miasma? Why does he kill somebody? Who do I want to torment? I want to torment Scott. You're Scott, right? Why does he have to?
Because he has to leave the town to start his journey.
Exactly. Miasma is very often just nothing more than a glorified plot device. Pelias goes off to the award-winning town of Phthia, where he is purified by his buddy King Eurytion, and accidentally kills Eurytion in the subsequent Caledonian boar hunt. I'm going to write that down here so I remember to talk about that. Eurytion gets killed. Pelias goes to Iolcus. He's purified by the local king. The local king's wife falls in love with him. If I recall correctly, Jeremy was lecturing to me about this last time, because he has seen this plot device happen so many times. Well, okay, Pelias doesn't want any part of the queen, so they take him out on Mount Cithaeron, a local mountain. He's asleep. They bury his sword in a pile of dung. He wakes up. Poor Pelias looks up and he sees centaurs all around him. Then he hears hooves galloping in from the distance. And I think this is where I left you off last time. Elizabeth, who do these hooves belong to? Yeah, they're standing there. The centaurs are standing there. And then there's more hooves. No. No, although that's not, it could have been Pegasus. You people are not reading. I will have to punish you for that. The correct answer is Chiron, the nice centaur, the artistic centaur, the teacher of young heroes. Chiron, the nice centaur, says, Pelias, your sword is in that there pile of dung. Pick it up and kick booty. In return for this conspicuous display of virtue, Pelias is awarded as his wife an influential young sea nymph by the name of Theseus. Somebody in the class can redeem the class by telling me precisely why the gods were so happy to marry off, not you, not you either, marry off Theseus. Phil.
Wasn't Theseus the one that was supposed to have a son that was going to kill Zeus, I think?
So close and yet so far. Destined to bear a son greater than his father. The one that Zeus, you're right, was afraid was going to do the horrible things that Zeus had done to his father, that Zeus's father did to Zeus's grandfather, and so on. Boy, did they throw a bash. Did the gods and goddesses throw a bash for Pelias and Theseus when they got married?
How did they know that it was true?
Pardon?
Because no one knew who it was, right?
Prometheus did.
So then he told everyone after that?
Well, yeah, the word got out, so to speak. But they still didn't figure they were out of the woods until they got her married off. So she gets married to this mortal god. They didn't ask her what she thought about it. She probably would have preferred to have continued her career as an ocean nymph, living down in the bottom of the sea. But again, this reflects the values and folk ways of a patriarchal society. The gods and goddesses are so thrilled to get this one married off that they throw a big bash. All the gods and goddesses are invited to the wedding of Pelias and Theseus except for one. Raise your hand if you know who it is. Okay, now I'm going to ask somebody who doesn't know what it is. Mona, who was it?
Athena?
Oh, no, she's there. Jarrett?
Aphrodite.
Oh, no, got to have Aphrodite at a wedding. Eris, goddess of discord. And guess what? She shows up anyway, armed with an apple. This is a diversion, but a very good diversion. Which back in the days, which it was synonymous with before the days it was synonymous with top-notch computing. She brings a golden apple, and it says on it, Te kalistei, which is ancient Greek for the fairest. Immediately, three voices rise up. Me, me, me. Three goddesses. Each claim it, this apple for the fairest, as her own. Number one is Hera. Number two is Aphrodite, goddess of beauty and love. And number three, surprisingly enough, is Athena, goddess of war, wisdom, and quote-unquote women's work. Now, let's say, Erica, that you are Zeus. You notice I'm not going to ask Ray this, I know better. Erica, you are Zeus, and these three goddesses come up to you, O Zeus, and say, which of us is the most beautiful? What do? But then Aphrodite's going to be mad at you. And what happens if Aphrodite gets mad at you? Yeah, so to speak. Edit that out. Okay, any other? That's a good decision, but it's going to get you in trouble. What do? Zeus. No, not a competition. Who said that? There is no hedging. Kristen, you came in late. That person who came in late is Kristen, by the way. Kristen, what do?
You cut it in three.
you're still going to hack somebody off. Carrie, you probably have the highest average in the class. You should know. She does, but she's not telling us. Elizabeth, what do you think? Have you ever been in a situation in your life where I don't know is not a choice? Heather, what do you do? You cannot send out to the Delphic Oracle, by the way. Mark, what do you do? Well?
Either just, what I do is just throw it up in the air and whoever first grab it, they get it.
Nope. Jeremy?
Make someone else decide.
I heard, commit suicide, that's not bad, but you're Zeus, you can't die.
Decide.
Okay,
Get someone else.
get somebody else to decide. Brilliant. Now, what are we looking for in this person? One major quality. Stupidity. We need somebody who is as dumb as a rock. And we find one in the presence of this studly young shepherd by the name of Paris, otherwise known as Alexander. A studly young shepherd connected with the Trojan royal family.
Okay, I'll pick them out. Stretch your stuff, ladies.
Each of the goddesses supposedly promises him something. Hera says, I will give you power if you pick me. Athena says, I will give you wisdom if you pick me. And Aphrodite says, if you pick me, I will give you the most beautiful girl in the world. Well, that's a no-brainer to Paris, which is good because Paris is not really long in the brains department anyway. And he picks Aphrodite, thereby ticking off Hera and Athena against the town of Troy for all time. But he does get the most beautiful woman in the world. Only one minor catch. She's married. She is married to King Menelaus of Sparta. Well, one day, while King Menelaus of Sparta is off on a business trip, Paris rows in on a boat with a ship with a bunch of manly men and invites Helen of Troy, which is the other name of Mrs. Menelaus, Helen of Troy, to come back to Troy with him. Now, I throw this out simply for your information. I'm not going to test you on it at this point, but it's something good to keep in the back of your head. Who's to blame for this? Very smart, Jeremy. Yes? No. The gods, Paris, Eris,
People who have goals.
Homer, blame Homer.
Helen of Troy. That's all they thought.
Whoa. You're going to need some glasses before you're done, boy. Okay, well, at any rate, this kicks off. Menelaus runs screaming to his big brother, King Agamemnon. He took my girl! He took my girl! And we have the Trojan War. Who won the Trojan War? There were no winners. Although, keep in mind the chronology here. The Trojan War was a direct result of the marriage of Pelias and Theseus. Let's see which of you know a little math here. Meanwhile, Pelias and Theseus go do what newly married couples do, and the result of their connubial bliss is a little baby boy named Achilles. And the first thing Theseus does with her new little baby boy, Achilles, is she takes him to the river Styx, river of loathing and bad music from the early 1980s, takes him to the river, dips him in the water, holding him by the heel, making him invulnerable everywhere but his heel. Guess what? That's where he's going to get killed. Guess what? That's where he gets shot. Guess what? When does he get shot? He gets shot at the end of the Trojan War. How long was the Trojan War? It was 10 years long. Has anybody got a problem with the math here? Josh?
He was 10 years old.
When the war ended?
It was a quick development.
Big 10-year-old.
Did it start exactly at when he was born? Did it take a couple years to
Let's put it this way, Fairlin. You've just been awarded Mel Gibson. Say, he's all yours, Fairlin. Do you A, get in the car and get rolling immediately, or wait 2 or 3 years?
What the war?
Oh, well, wars don't wait for anybody. You know, Mrs. Gibson says, this woman has stolen my mill. Is she going to wait 2 years? I don't think so. You want to hear something even weirder? The person who chopped off the head of the king of Troy was Achilles' son. Neoptolemus, the 10-year-old Wunderkind of Vor. We've got some serious math problems coming here, but that's a digression. Let me take you to meet next. Let's see, Pelias, we put him on the board here. A heroette. An example of an ancient Greek Thelma and Louise. Crystal.
I have a question about that real quick.
Sure,
Okay, if he was supposed to be greater than his father,
he was.
he died before he could kill his father.
No, he wasn't supposed to kill his father. He was just supposed to be greater than his father. See, Zeus's hang-up was, you're thinking like Zeus, and normally that's not bad. He just out-achieved him. You know, fact is, you know, most of you are probably going to forget Pelias the instant you walk out the room. But you will remember Achilles, or you will fry. We have a young heroette named Atalanta. But before we get into that, we start off with the Caledonian boar hunt, which I've marked over here. The Caledonian boar was a horrible creature, a ferocious creature, sent by the goddess Artemis to ravage the region of Caledon. The boar looked like this. And had fangs and stuff like that. What they did, the king of Caledon called together a whole bunch of heroes to kill the Caledonian boar. But the head of the expedition against the Caledonian boar was this kid named Meleager. Meleager was the son of the king and queen of Caledon. Shortly after, Meleager's mom, Althea, gave, and we'll call Mr. A. Shortly after Althea gave birth to young baby Meleager, she was warned that Meleager would die as soon as the log currently burning in the hearth had burned itself out. Heroic woman that she was, she leaped forth from her, having given birth to this baby. She jumps up out of bed and snatches the log from the fire and rolls it around, puts it out, and stores it away in her hope chest so that the little baby can live. When Meleager gets to be about 18, 19, Mr. Althea, his dad, I don't know his name, I don't even care, forgets to sacrifice to Artemis. Why does he forget to sacrifice to Artemis?
It's necessary.
Thank you. Necessary for the story. And he needs more hair. The Caledonian boar is unleashed. Various Studley heroes, Pelias, Eurytion, Meleager, all sorts of heroes are trying to track this boar down, but they can't hit it. The first person to hit it is a girl named Atalanta. Atalanta is the first one to shoot the boar, and then when he is cornered, the various heroic heroes led by Meleager successfully kill it. Meleager, who is the last one to kill the beast, awards the skin of the beast to Atalanta in recognition of her heroism and accomplishment in being the first to wound the Caledonian boar. Today, we would say that is only fair. Heck, today, Atalanta would get to kill the boar all by herself, but this is a patriarchal society. Meleager's uncles start getting on his case. These are Althea's brothers, his mom's brothers, are saying, you're trying to score. You're trying to make time with this chick. You know, ha ha ha. Giving a chick the hide. What's your problem, wussy boy? And Meleager gets so mad that he kills them. All of them. Thereby incurring. But he doesn't even live long enough to atone for it. Because his mom finds out that her little baby boy Meleager has killed all of her brothers. She goes to her hope chest, brings out the magic log, lights the magic log, sets it on fire, and Meleager goes, ah, and he dies. Then Althea hangs herself. The end. Thank you. Atalanta is really cool, though. There are two different versions, two different Atalantas. There's Atalanta, the hunter's daughter, and then there's Atalanta, daughter of the king of Boeotia. I'm going to merge them. I'm going to smash them both together into one completely satisfying heroine because this is my class. And I can do whatever I want because I have tenure. And also because, hero, 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 hero. We finally get one heroine, and we have to accuse her of being three different people. That's unfair. I like to have a heroine, so if you feel like you want to, you can put it on the test. Supposedly, Atalanta, as a baby, was exposed by her daddy. The daddy said, I don't want this child, it's female. I'm going to abandon it to be eaten by bears. What happens? A female bear, a bearette, comes up and sees the little baby and raises the little girl. That's right, Atalanta was raised by a she-bear. She is brought up by hunters later on when she needs to, learn how to speak human talk and wear clothes and stuff like that. She becomes an expert runner and huntress. She grew up with hunters. That makes sense. After her great achievement in wounding the Caledonian boar, her dad said, well, my daughter. He became proud of her. Yeah, it gets even better. Supposedly, Atalanta's father says, dear, it's time that you got married and became a real woman. That is to say, be married to a man, take care of the man, and all the kids that you bear to the man. I'm getting the evil eye from this corner. I'm only projecting the Greek patriarchal society here. It has a happy ending. Atalanta's father, no it doesn't, it has a really miserable ending. Atalanta's father decided, I'm going to have a foot race. I'm going to have my daughter race against various guys. If you want to marry my lovely daughter Atalanta, you can, but only if you first defeat her in a foot race. You can even have a head start. You can even start halfway to the finish line. You can start here and Atlanta can start here, but she always wins. She's riding maybe a 15, 16 game winning streak when all of a sudden comes this really studly guy named Hippomenes. Hippomenes. Okay? His other name is Milanion. You don't have to know that. Hippomenes. Hippomenes has a couple of things in his favor. He is a pretty fast runner, but he's got a couple things in his favor, really. Number one, he's good looking. Very good looking. And number two, he is armed with 3 golden apples. He knows that he cannot defeat Atalanta in a fair race. He's also fairly smart in addition to being fairly quick, but he's good looking and he's got 3 golden apples. Here's the strategy he hits on. When Atalanta has gotten too far ahead of him, he throws out a golden apple. And like the silly little girl she is, Atalanta bends down and picks up, ooh, a golden apple. And he dashes out in front of her. When she gets too far away, he tosses out number 2. She bends down like the silly little girl she is. Goes, golden apple, another one, hee hee. And finally, just short of the finish line, he tosses it up. And let's try a simile here. Much like the Green Bay Packers running downfield to cover a punt before it falls into the end zone, but failing. Atalanta stops just short of the finish line, picks up the apple. Meleager just makes it across. Now, those of you in the class who are more cynical may have already tumbled to the conclusion that Atalanta wanted him to win. He wasn't too hard on the eyes. She wasn't a dumb little girl, and she certainly didn't need any darned golden apples. She took one look at Hippo and said, "Ugh, this one's a keeper." And so, through exercising her wiles, through exercising her intelligence, Atalanta gets to marry the guy that she wants to marry. It's a pretty good deal. In ancient Greek society, you marry whoever your dad tells you to marry. This goes for males and females alike. Atalanta gets to walk off with the husband she wants. Ha, on you, Dad. Of course, this is too happy an ending. So what happens is that in their haste to consummate their marriage, to take full advantage of their love for each other in the most physical way, they manage to do it in a temple of Artemis. That's a big problem because Artemis is a virginal goddess, and she also, has probably one of the worst tempers of any deity. Her and Apollo.
I think that Atalanta would be at least in Artemis's favor before this, wouldn't she? She was a hunter and
Yes, but you might, as long as we're doing a Freud job on this, you might also think that she stooped to pick up the apple. She had accomplished everything she could as a huntress. And here's this bitchin' guy. Might as well try some of that too. Who says you can't have it all in ancient Greece? I'm just theorizing. Keep in mind, too, that the apple is not only a sign of knowledge, it's also a sign of immortality and of stuff you really shouldn't mess around with in general.
I was wondering where all these golden apples kept showing up.
The archetype.
Africa, probably.
Africa. Okay, fine. That's a great song by Toto. In their haste to mingle in love, they defile the temple of Artemis. And as a result, Artemis changes Hippo, Menes, into a lion, and changes Atalanta into a lioness. Now that isn't too bad, except for the ancient Greeks believe, for what reason I know not, that baby lions did not come from daddy lions and mommy lions. According to the ancient Greeks, a baby lion was a child of a jaguar or a leopard and a lioness. Now, I know this doesn't make any sense to me either, but read it and weep. This is what they believed. And so they got to be around each other all the time, but never got to be satisfied fully with their love for each other. Much in that fine Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer vehicle, Lady Hawk. I love a good romance with a happy ending, if we can find one. I have just 3 little storyettes to tell you, and then I'll hand back your quizzes, and then I'll send you packing, ready to take your quiz on Wednesday. Storiette number 1 is a sad love story. You may remember, no you don't, even I don't remember the 1950s, because I wasn't alive then. But there is a genre of rock songs like Teen Angel, Can You Hear Me? What is that one about?
Guy who lost his love.
No. Well, yeah. How does the girl in Teen Angel get killed?
By a train.
Yeah, gets run over by a train. And, you know, are you somewhere up above? Are you still my own true love? Or the leader of the pack. What happened to the leader of the pack?
Fell off a train. Drove off the cliff. Dead man's curve.
Dead Man's Curve. How about James Dean? How did he die in that one movie, Rebel Without a Clue? Oh, he didn't? I'm sorry. What's the one where he drives the 49 Chevy, the 49 Ford, or the 49 Merc off of a cliff? He didn't die? Well, you get the point. You know, dead teenagers are really romantic. They're really not. But these stories about, you know, star-crossed lovers with nothing better to do, no, that's another one. But were popular even in ancient times. Just shut up and tell the story. It comes to us, as do all good stories practically, from the award-winning poet Ovid. It's the story of Pyramus and Thisbe. 2 young kids growing up in Babylon. Like any number of starstruck young couples, they were forbidden to see each other, much less get married. But there's a little wall common to both of their houses, and through a tiny crack of the wall, they can speak to each other. Yes.
Why were they forbidden to see each other?
Because the story won't work any other way. I mean, like a drama in which the perfectly well-adjusted family, you know, their daughter meets the perfect young man, and their son meets the perfect young woman, and they all go on to lead happily well-adjusted lives. I ask you, Jeremy, who the bleep wants to see that? You are a liar. Through a crack in the wall, they speak to each other. And by the way, you should take notes on this, because if you want to know how to write an etiology, that wonderful exercise which you have as an option for your writing project, you can do much worse. You can do much worse than ripping off Ovid. Often when Pyramus stood on this side, Thisbe on that side, when in turn they felt each other's breath, they used to exclaim. Now notice, Ovid breaks into conversation here. He doesn't just say, yeah, he loved her, she loved him, but they love somebody else, you just can't win. A little conversation, a little characterization going on here. Jealous wall, why do you stand in the way of lovers? It gets worse. How little it would be to ask that you would let us embrace, or if that is too much, that you should at least open wide enough for us to exchange kisses. Not that we are ungrateful. We admit that it is thanks to you that we can communicate with each other at all. Oh. And so on and so forth. So they talked in vain on their opposite sides. At nightfall, they said goodbye. And though they could not reach each other with their kisses, each kissed their own side of the wall. Oh, you ever hear saying God is in the details? I mean, just that little corny detail. They each kissed their own side of the wall. You know something horrible is going to happen. Finally, they arranged to meet just outside the city of Babylon, at the tomb of Ninus. Ninus. Many years ago when I read Romeo and Juliet for the first time and didn't understand it at all, I encountered this phrase where they were going to go meet at old Ninny's tomb. Do you remember that? They're going to go meet at old Ninny's tomb, and I read that. I just started laughing, and I was useless. I couldn't read the rest of the thing. I was just laughing too hard. Ninny. Ninny is a corruption of the name Ninus. I ask you, don't tell me now, but just think in the back of your heads. What famous English playwright, whom we won't name, was in the habit of pooching perfectly good ideas from Ovid? Okay, this is Romeo and Juliet and many other plays besides. And you know what the end's going to be. A lionette comes by. She is chewing on a bloody shawl. She's already eaten somebody. I want to make sure I get it. Oh no, she isn't munching on a bloody veil. She's got bloody teeth because she's just dined. Thisbe's the first one there. She sees the lioness, and like the intelligent young woman that she is, she gets out of there, dropping her veil. The lioness picks up the veil with her teeth because they don't have opposable thumbs, and spits it back out, but she's got blood and gore on it and stuff like that. Next, Pyramus comes, and like the typical teenager in love, Pyramus has an IQ of about 71. He looks at the veil and recognizes it as Thisbe's. And I swear to God, if either of you asks me how he recognizes it as Thisbe's, I'm going to smack you. I'm going to throw this wastebasket at you. He recognizes it as Thisbe's. He sees the blood on it. We're going to let Ovid pick up the call. Shut up. He picked up Thisbe's veil and carried it off into the shade of the tree where they should have met. Weeping and kissing the garment he knew so well, he said, "Drink deep now of my blood too." And as he spoke, he took the sword which hung at his waist and thrust it into his side, and then, with a dying effort, pulled it out of the warm wound. As he lay, fallen back upon the ground, his blood spouted forth. Just as when a water pipe bursts, if there is some flaw in the lead, and through the narrow hissing crack, a long stream of water shoots out and beats upon the air. The fruits of the tree were sprinkled with his blood and changed to a rich purple hue. The roots, soaked in his gore, tinged the hanging berries with the same rich color. That darned Ovid works in an etiology right at the end. This is how the mulberry bush got its color, according to Ovid. And now, those of you who have little kids or think of having little kids when they roaring, "Here we go around a mulberry bush," you can think of this. I invite you too.
All mulberry bushes in the world suddenly change.
Hit them. Okay, story number 2. Well, that wasn't very cheery. Let's see if this one's better. Pardon? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Farrell's right. She kills herself too. No, although she falls on Pyramus' sword. Long, narrow sword. Virginal woman, etc. You know, you can have a field day with that.
She became pregnant.
No, she became dead. Okay, Hero and Leander. Okay, across the Hellespont, here on the Europe side, that's another really great band that I really liked. lives a priestess in a tower. Her name is Hero, which is a perfectly good girl's name in ancient Greece. Here on the Asian side lives a young man named Leander. Every night, Leander swims across the Hellespont to be with his beloved Hero, his beloved girlfriend. You know why? Because she's a priestess. Do you know who she's a priestess of? Aphrodite. Well, we're swimming across the Hellespont for on a regular basis because if a priestess of Artemis isn't interested in sex at all, you could almost predict how a priestess of Aphrodite is going to feel about this subject. It's really sweet. She would turn on her love light every night for him to swim to, so he could hone in, as it were, on her charms. But one rainy night, the lamp is extinguished. Being young and whatever else he is, Leander jumps in to swim to his beloved girlfriend anyway. The weather started getting rough. Leander's body is tossed, and he drowns to death. The next morning, Hero has been wondering where Leander has been. She looks down and sees that he has washed ashore on her beach right in front of her tower. And so she jumps off of the tower and dies. The end. Pardon? No, so far we are 0 for 4. All dead. Let's see if this next one is happier. This is the story of Bacchus and Philemon. I promise you this one will be happier. An old, poor couple from Asia Minor. One day, according to Ovid, God bless you, according to Ovid, Hermes and Zeus decided to go visiting disguised as bag people to see how the humans were behaving. I know, they've done it before. Stops to make you think, doesn't it? What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus, trying to get back home. Just like a dog without a bone or an actor on a loan and stuff like that. I mean, this is the stuff of which popular songs are made of now, and it was also very popular back in ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Everywhere they go, people are really cruddy to Zeus and Hermes. Oh, look, it's bag people again. I'm sorry, we gave at the Brown Derby. Until they get to the humble house of the old couple, Bacchus and her husband Philemon. I'm going to read from Ovid here because Ovid is good. Because he knows how to write. Because he recognizes that when you're writing stories, God is in the details. Note the characterization of the old couple. Note the little details that make the tears run down your eye and stuff. So when the heaven-dwelling gods reached the humble home, and, stooping down, entered its low doorway, the old man set chairs for them, and asked them to sit down and rest their weary limbs. Bacchus hustled up anxiously to throw a rough piece of cloth over the chairs. On a couch with frame and legs of willow wood lay a mattress stuffed with soft sedge grass and hay. Bacchus and Philemon covered this with the clothes they used to put on only on solemn holidays. Even so, the stuff was old and cheap, a good match for the cheap willow couch. Then the gods from their places came in for the meal. Old Bacchus tucked up her dress, and with shaky hands set the table in front of them. One of its 3 legs was shorter than the other, but she pushed in a tile to make sure it was the same height. Timidly stretching out their hands in prayer, they prayed to the gods for a good meal without any preparations. They had a single goose, which acted as guardian of their little house. In honor of their divine visitors, they were making ready to seize and kill the bird. But with its swift wings, it eluded its owners for a long time, for age had made them slow. At last, it seemed to take refuge with the gods themselves, who declared that it should not be killed. "We are gods," they said, "and this wicked neighborhood is to be punished as it richly deserves. But you will be allowed to escape this disaster." And Hermes and Zeus immediately unleashed this humongous flood. Now, I know what you're going to say, Mitch. Another flood myth? How many do we ever have? You know, how many floods? Did this one destroy the whole world or just the neighborhood, says Jeremy? And, you know, Mark wants me to talk about Old Testament parallels. And you want to tell me about some archaeological dig. I tell you all, shut up. Here's what happened. Some of you may not remember this, but I remember it vividly. A couple years ago, in the year of our Lord 1994, the city of Springfield got 10 inches of rain in one day. You may or may not remember this. You may be familiar with the drainage on the roads in the city of Springfield. Ha! Drainage. Pickup trucks floated down Chestnut Express, not Chestnut, pickup trucks floated. Built houses were submerged to the roofs and stuff like that in the year of our Lord 1994 AD. And the only thing I can guarantee you, I mean, it's on film, it's on the Weather Channel, you know, these people from our church got their house flooded out by it. I mean, the water was up to the eaves. They had to get a new house. The city bought them one, etc. Another friend of mine had his basement taken out by it. It clung in. But I can, you know, 50 years from now, when I'm this old fossil, haranguing my grandchildren, water was up to the eaves. No, that's not good enough. Houses floated away. I remember having to drive my wife to work. You know, that was pretty bad. Heck, we rode half the way there. And you just start embroidering and making it up because people will listen to you then, and also because it propagates the memory of, if you happen to have been on the road the day that we got 10 inches of rain in Springfield, Missouri, you will remember it for the rest of your life. My car did float for a few feet down Cherry Street. I hope that never, I was driving in pitch dark, I couldn't see it. I'm thinking, what's this? And the car go, blah, 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 blah. But I digress. So that's the localized floods. We could make up flood stories about Springfield too. Sure enough, Zeus and Hermes flood the countryside, but they decide to turn Bacchus and Philemon's house into a temple. When they die, they stand out in front of the house and become an oak tree and a linden tree. And they grow up and their branches intertwine with each other, and they're still there to this day.